It is Safe Harbor Day here in the United States. And if you don't know what that is, you are not alone. This is normally not a thing that people are really focused on or paying attention to or talking about. The safe harbor provision is part of federal law that allows states to lock in their electoral votes that will be cast by Congress, which is happening next week. Today is that deadline for states to lock that in by finishing up their certification of the presidential election results. Put another way, this is yet another confirmation that Joe Biden is the president-elect, despite what President Trump is saying. And he is not giving up. CNN learned in the last week Trump called the top Republican in the Pennsylvania legislature multiple times asking about the Commonwealth's electoral process. A spokesman for the Republican House Speaker Brian Cutler confirms that the president called but said the president, quote, this is according to the spokesman, never directly pressured Cutler to overturn the result or seat rival electors. Okay, but what was he then indirectly trying to do with those calls? Joining me right now is the Democratic Lieutenant Governor of Pennsylvania, John Fetterman. Lieutenant Governor, the House Speaker, I mean, he says that he doesn't feel he was directly pressured to do anything. What do you think is going on here?
Well, I mean, that's clearly what's going on. And whether it's said explicitly or implicitly, the message is clear, is that you need to do what I'm saying or you're going to pay a significant price politically because it's my way or the highway. And the threat is real. And I want to be clear. Speaker Cutler or President Pro Tem Corman of the Senate have not made any good faith attempts to reverse the election results. That needs to be said. And folks do need to understand that it is necessary in some cases like this to pander to the lunatic fringe snake handling wing of this party because they are vocal and they are active.
But is it necessary, though? Because at the same time, those same people you're talking about, along with a bunch of other Republican lawmakers in the state, wrote a letter to members of Congress telling them to not to obstruct or to object to the Commonwealth's electoral slate. Are they trying to have it both ways? Is that okay?
Well, I mean, there's certainly going to be elements of professional wrestling involved in order to, again, like I said, to mollify the lunatic fringe of the party. I mean, make no mistake, they're talking, they have had armed protesters show up at people's homes. You have the Arizona Republican Party calling for martyrs on Twitter. So this is very real. And we have to acknowledge how much courage it takes for a Republican in this environment to simply acknowledge the reality, the electoral reality that Joe Biden is the president-elect and in Pennsylvania won by over 80,000 votes.
I want to play for you what Congressman Jim Clyburn, the Democratic congressman from South Carolina, what he said about these phone calls coming from the president. Let me play this.
This is an attempt to overthrow our government. You may not call it a coup, but this is an attempted coup. Now, some people say he's trying to steal the election. He's not trying to steal the election. That can denote some kind of unknown activity when you're stealing. No, that's not what he's doing. He is in your face, trying to overthrow the will of the people.
Look, what Clyburn's saying is that this is more than pandering to some folks in your party. This is straight up dangerous. Do you agree with him?
Well, again, coming from the president very much would like to overthrow the result. But the people on the ground, like I said, look at what they've actually done, the steps that they've taken. And I don't believe any Republican of any significant stature in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania has or will make an attempt to overturn these election results. But also when you have the world's biggest microphone raining scorn and calling you out the way he has in Georgia, that's a political reality too. So as I mentioned before, it's a fine line walking between pandering to the snake handling wing of that party, but also acknowledging the electoral truth in Pennsylvania. And I believe that's what these folks are trying to do because the threat is real and the anger and the absurdity continues to swirl. And the president certainly is not going to do anything other than to foment and accelerate that.
But Lieutenant Governor, I hear you on a political reality of what this fine line that they think that they must walk. But Do they need to walk it? Why does it take courage to state reality? At some point, there has to be a break. I mean, you've got Republicans in your state and Republicans nationally who are standing by silently letting this go on, or some of them egging the president on in his attempts. What is your message? Because I don't know if there is this fine line that they need to walk.
Well, the truth is they're getting death threats. My friend Al Schmidt, Commissioner Schmidt, Republican in Philadelphia, still gets death threats even after a month after the election for standing up and telling the truth as a Republican. It's very real. And you have, again, unprecedented scorn raining down on you. And we have to acknowledge in this country right now, it is an act of courage to choose death threats and threats of your political future, or worse, in the opposition of getting 100,000, 170,000 new Twitter followers and being, held up as the National Republican Hero of the Week. And some members of the legislature have done just that. They have chosen to be and to pander to that element.
Just real quickly, is anything with regard to the result of the election out of Pennsylvania going to change?
No, I mean, everyone knows how this movie's going to end. The president more so than anybody. And that's why he's resorting to this outlandish tactic. And that's why he's trying to turn this into a political revenge fest, because people are standing up and saying, yeah, it's not the truth. And I'm going to stand on the side of the truth.